How you doing, brother? Can I give you one of these?
Sure, what's this about, brother?
We got a situation up in Delaware that's crazy right now, brother. Brothers are being lynched.
Oh, lynch? In 2012?
That's the same exact thing we said when we got the story.
So how'd you hear about it?
That's a good question. There was a professor who was at Delaware State University named Dr. Issa. And to make a long story short, he was doing some research and educating the students on how they're trying to destroy and demolish HBCUs.
Oh, I went to Bowie State.
I went to Hampton University, so you know how the students were responding to that. And in the midst of sharing this information with the students, he stumbled upon the fact that they were actually lynching brothers in Dover, Delaware.
Oh, how come I didn't hear about this on CNN?
You didn't hear about it on CNN because this is an election year. Do you know who the state's attorney is for the state of Delaware?
Who would that be?
That would be Bo Biden. Bo Biden is the Vice President Joe Biden's son. So as you can see, this is an extremely political situation.
Understood. So what do you have to do with this?
We represent an organization called War on the Horizon. And what we do is we educate black people to the threat of white supremacy and teach our people how we can prepare for black survival.
No doubt. Much needed. Definitely going to check this out. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, bro. Be safe out there, all right?
All right, got it.
United Front. We the vanguard, man. Hakoon, what up? Hey, black. Yeah. I ain't ready, yo. Hey, yo, you got my back?
Yeah, brother, man, your back is cocked.
Pass the Glock.
Let it pop.
Leave a crack the shot. United Front.
Yeah, these other groups ain't half as hot.
And I be reppin' black power till the cats get dropped.
We the devil shaking like an aftershock.
And I've been working on my aim.
Running after cops.
All black.
Check.
We all black.
Check.
Crack the fall flat.
Yep.
And small hats.
Yep.
You the master of deception.
I'm the master of expression.
With the power and the message.
With a flow so impressive.
And my number one suggestion.
Study supreme lesson.
No shucking,
No job.
brothers, we mean business.
White world massacre.
To save mama Africa.
Check your neck, people.
Cause this white man is Dracula.
A beauty for holy, yeah.
Crab heathens with no delay.
Blasphemers to holy pray.
Throw a K in the throwaway.
M-A-Y-A-S-A. Yes, wanna kill us all.
We can brawl.
Let the lead spray. Blood on the wall like lead paint.
Bang, bang.
Now watch them fall like dead weight.
Yeah. Then it's on to the next state.
Lay low.
Yeah, the gods made an escape. Righteous rage. United Front. Asafo.
God said that the white race is a race of devils. I didn't say it. I just believe it because of their actions and their history. Show me the saintly one. These they call me racist. Let's look now. They have pushed the white race up, but not the white race up at the good of other races. They push themselves up at the expense of who? At the expense of black, brown, red, and yellow. So when the real racist or evil demon, please stand up. We believe that separation ultimately would be the solution to the problem between races. We are unwilling to try to get along with each other. Please, with justice, then we have to separate and do something for ourselves.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Sister Yaa Yaa, and you are now tuned to A Taste of the Southwest on War on the Horizon Radio. I would like to thank everyone individually who is listening, even though we know the Super Bowl is going on right now. I would like to thank everybody who's taken time out to listen to the show. I am excited about this show this evening. I don't know how much airtime this particular topic gets, But it's something that is near and dear to me, as I know all of us are affected in some kind of way. We may learn even more ways we may be affected by the topic before the show is over with tonight. But tonight I did want to talk about addiction. And I can just imagine all the different things that pop into people's heads when they hear even just the word addiction. Some people go immediately to, substances, or maybe something personal that they can relate to, or a family member, all the destruction we've all seen just in our communities alone, let alone our personal families, as a result of addictions. So I definitely wanted to get into the topic a little bit tonight, and I even am open, and I'm hoping actually that next week we could possibly extend into the same topic a little bit farther than we get into tonight. So, like I said, thanks for listening, and also, get your questions together, comments or whatever. We're not going to wait so late into the show this time to get to the callers. I know you guys have things on your mind, and it's good to hear those things and not have to wait all the way until the end. So be ready for that, and I hope you guys will interact and participate in the show, because it's nothing without somebody listening. It's one thing for one person to talk, but it's beautiful to know people are listening and to know what's on people's minds. That's how we all grow. So getting into addiction, like I said, there are a lot of things that pop immediately into mind, different types of addictions people may think of, like alcohol, prescription drugs, cigarettes, caffeine, marijuana. And some of these may be a little different. Maybe you didn't think of at the top of your mind when you think of the word addiction, and we'll get into it a little bit farther into the show. But food, white sugar, cocaine, heroin, crack, sex, and other sexual activities, different relationships, pornography, exploitation, radiation and electronics, work, spirituality and metaphysics, the need for some people to leave the planet, gambling, the internet or social media, adrenaline or risk and danger, exercise, and whiteness. And I don't know how many of these things immediately jumped out at you as addictions, but just to get into a little bit of information, I don't really care for statistics too much because they're generally white generated and therefore can be categorized as lies in general. But even to just take what lies they may be getting, so we could assume that in this case, statistics on cigarette smoking from the CDC, so we could gather that they are probably stretching the truth. But even the little bit of information they do give gives some insight into addictions and how people are affected in their lives, whether they realize it or not. One piece of information that I got from the CDC website was 443,000 U.S. deaths per year are caused due to cigarette smoking. $22 million per day is spent on advertising cigarettes and other tobacco products. And 19% of adults, which is in a number that they're giving, 43.8 million people were smokers in the year 2010. So we know it kills us because even they're counting the number of deaths due to cigarette smoking, and that's nothing new to us. But to have a number so high, and I understand, supposedly the number's falling, but the number of people, 43.8 million adults, now that's not even the kids, that's above the age of 18, that smoke cigarettes. And I bring up cigarettes because sometimes it's thought of as less dangerous and less serious as other addictions. And there are reasons for that. We can get into those possibly later on. But what is it then? If certain substances that I named literally cause your body damage and cause death, what is it that people continue to go into doing these things? What causes somebody everybody to spend so much of their money that could be spent on anything else to support these habits. And then I also wanted to make the point that there were some things I listed that can be addictions, and this is a very small list because there are countless things that a person can be addicted to. But everything that you do does not necessarily cause you physical or immediate physical harm, like exercise. It's supposed to be good for you. So how can it be classified as an addiction? And I wanted to kind of get into what's at the root of addiction, because if you just look at, again, the branches of a tree, you could miss what's causing the tree to grow. What's the nature of that particular tree? What's the fruit? And how can you know that before you get to the point of it bearing fruit? So as far as addictions go, and I know Dr. Marcus is going to have a lot of information as well, but at the root is oftentimes a sense of powerlessness. And we all, being African people, know the amount, to some degree, of powerlessness that we experience in our lives, even just from childhood. We have to face the things we have to battle, certain abuses, and just things that are just out of our control. We begin early on to understand that there's a sense of powerlessness that we have. And then other things that we go through, like guilt, things that happen to us, taking responsibility for them, and we now feel guilty. Addictions sometimes are the way that we punish ourselves. We feel a need to punish and hurt ourselves for something that we're holding on to that we've done wrong. Whether that's correct or not correct, that's the way we've perceived it, so it's our truth. It's reality to us. And that's how we operate. So addictions become a need to escape an unbearable reality. We've got to get out. We've got to break from this reality that's hurting us. And addictions are oftentimes the way that we do that. And the way that I understand it, and hopefully this will make it a little more clear, it's anger that becomes trapped inside of us, and it ricochets around, just gaining momentum without a way out. So it builds into a rage that constantly begins to torment you, but the anger's not getting out anywhere. It's just banging around inside you, getting faster and more intense and more painful, more excruciating, just causing you really a nervous energy and anxiety. And so to get that anxiety out, that energy out, a lot of times it's released through particular repetitive acts. Now, this is not even going as far as into obsessive compulsive disorder, which has the same root, really. But just things that we do with that angry energy, and we do them to ourselves. Instead of getting to lash out, instead of getting, your actual power back, you hurt, and we've talked about this on the show before, you hurt the person closest to you, and that's you. And when I was thinking about it, Africans, we operate out of a natural rhythm. We have it, it's innate in us. But what addiction is, it's a false rhythm. It's putting in a repetitious action with the European core and purpose to adhere to. It's a destructive practice that's done over and over again to the beat and to the end of death. It's a death march. It replaces an African spiritual connection, which is alive and current, but it replaces it with a stagnant connection that keeps us lost in a maze of pleasure-seeking and health-destroying. Not in the circle of life that's ancestral and continuous, spinning out of control, so with a false feeling of comfort. We're being lulled into a pleasure coma. Now, a real African rhythm was described by, this is one example, by Dr. Marimba Ani, the Ma'afa Sankofa cycle, where you experience some African balance. You're living a balanced life. You have a balanced perspective. There's some great destruction, some Ma'afa, something disrupts that. And in order to get your bearings back, in order to get back to balance and Ma'at, you have to go through a Sankofa process. And that process is really analyzing, understanding what's going on around you and within you, so you can see yourself and regroup and see how to restore that balance again. That's a natural African rhythm. That leads to life. That's going somewhere good for not just you, but for all of us. And you could walk somebody else through that process and get through their Ma'afa time. But an addiction is a constant spinning wheel to get something that you think is helping you, but really it's not. And one quote that I found that Dr. Layla Africa said in his book, African Holistic Health, he said, reality has no place with the addict. Reality has no place with the addict. So reality is the last thing that someone addicted is looking for. So I wanted to see, Sister Shabazz, if we could go to Dr. Marcus and see if he had anything that he wanted to
Sure.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right. I can hear you. How you doing?
Okay. I'm doing great. Good evening, everybody. It's interesting that you would, in the different research and the stuff that you came up with, that you pointed out a particular powerlessness. And when we're dealing with the roots, a simple way to understand addiction is it's a perversion. And just in what you're saying, it's when you're off. Blacks have a very genius way to just say things. That person looked off. And what does off mean? They're not walking in rhythm. Something's off about them. There's a twitch to them. Their steps is kind of stagnant or choppy. Even the rhythm of their face. And the reason why rhythm comes up in these type of conversations, just to bring what they call psychology back to an African understanding, rhythm had a spiritual root to it. Basically, anything that moved, the Africans felt they felt it was alive, and being that the creator is the first mover, and that is one thing to let you know you have the creator in you. You are moving, and so the concept is that of course you're moving, or that the concept would be the creator had to be in rhythm, because everything that is made is from it, per se. And so what it's saying is that, or even better yet, everything in the universe is coming together to make this thing we call life, a life force. And we like to believe that life is beautiful or good, or all that you have at least. And that in itself makes it beautiful. The opposite of death is life. So with this, rhythm was supposed to be the blood of the spirit. That was to let you know that you are alive. You have a movement. So rhythm has just taken on a whole bunch of different complicated meanings, but it just means movement. So with this, the root of addictions can even be made simple. It started from a group that was perverted, that didn't have a life rhythm to it. So you look at some of the causes. We could go to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who just simply states that because they didn't have the power of a melanated being, they became disgruntled with life itself. They were even mad at nature, the Mother Nature, or the spirit, or all these different words. It's just synonyms for life force. They became mad at life itself. Like, yo, I'm not black. It just to make it very simple, and to just really deal with roots. And so because they have what in psychology, or I like to say black psychology, Dr. Amos Wilson and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing just say they're projecting those hateful, disdainful feelings about their life onto people. So once they went to go make a characterization of people in Africa, they're savage and they're meaningless. And in looking from themselves, people who have a tendency, who have problems, to see people according to what's generating from inside of them. So if you could just imagine just having terrible, ugly insides. So when you go to look on the outside, you're looking from the inside, and then you're seeing outwardly. And so what you're seeing actually might be coming from the inside, but you're projecting it onto others. So with that, that's the addictions came from their pervertedness, their off-centeredness, their hate for the position they were in. And Dr. Francis Cress Welsing just simply says it, and some people, it just sounds too simple and too not deep for people to understand. That the biggest problem is that whites generally hated themselves because of the position they had. Life was rough. Life was 20 to 30 years in the cave. So with that, you have a person who is perverted. And as there was no word for rape in our, as anthropologists have concluded, notable anthropologists, they didn't have a word for rape. They didn't have a word for jail. There wasn't a word for incest. You know, and so on and so forth. And if you just check out books like Complementarity, and although it's deep and even to some people unrealistic, but they said, and I'm dealing with just pervertedness, the perverse being perverted. They said that a king or just the average African would have sex only 11 times in a whole lifetime. And it was for the purpose of producing kids. So a lot of the sex had a lot to do with trying to get a kid. Now that's unbelievable to us for simple reasons. And if I can bring this deep, where the roots come from thing and just bring it over here to regular life, it's hard for us to imagine being with a mate and only being with them 10 times in a whole lifetime. And one of the reasons why is because we don't have a lot of power. We're looking for power inside our mates. We are exploiting their power. And see, you say, we're exploiting it. Well, that's my wife. And sex has become synonymous with building yourself up. What I could get from that person, it has become synonymous with power. It's like it's not a problem. Well, that's my wife, or that's my property. And again, we're using some of the European ways of looking at things. I'm not to go as deep to how many times you need to have sex and all that. The point is not so much how many times, but the purpose that you are having it for. A lot of us don't want to just go and have sex. We'd have sex every day. We'd have it without a condom and so on and so forth because that's our wife or our husband or however you're looking at it. But we don't want the kids. We can't afford the kids. So when you look at what was going on, the African standpoint was they had all the resources. They didn't have a competitor. You had way more than all of the world's history to have already passed before Europeans were even discovered on the planet. So that's just millions of years before they even knew there was a European. So everywhere they could possibly look, the world was theirs. So what that says is, in a nutshell, they didn't have a need to have so much from their wife, or the woman didn't need so much from her husband because they had other things to do. They was not just worried about me and my wife. They had a planet to rule. They had mines to dig. They had everything you can imagine, all the power in the world. If you look at what power is, resources, energy, power, in a raw sense of the word. So what this does when we think of powerlessness, and now that we're in a European society, we have started to, in some ways, judge our understanding on a lot of their understanding. And so what addiction, just dealing still with the root, what addiction really looks like is when you become frustrated but you have no imagination on how to overcome this frustration. So that's the thing, when you can't see past getting over the thing that's frustrating. Let's say, for instance, you have a mom who just thinks you're ugly. Well, there's no way to get out of her being your mom. And when you're a little kid, there's no way out of needing her. So how do you erase that? How do you solve that problem? In fact, it's insurmountable. It's something you cannot even imagine solving. So what you do is you leave that frustration there and it festers. It ferments. And what happens is you got so much rage inside of you that even if you got to vent that rage in a way that hurts you, you got to get it out of you. That's why people smoke cigarettes. Right there, they got balled up rage that they could not even think about even trying to sort out because it's complicated. And how do you fix that as a 12-year-old and you've already went through 10 years of abuse from a parent that everybody says you're supposed to love? And then you're going through some on a daily basis that there's no way you can like. So again, with the Willie Mae Lynch syndrome, where the mother loves their child, but they hate the conditions that the child has to be in. So there's a certain hateful way they try to break the child out of making whites mad. So there's a love and a hatefulness towards their child that is mixed in with the childbearing. So again, what I'm trying to show you is that the dichotomy is something that you thought you were supposed to love, but is hateful towards you. Therefore, you think this is something you got to deal with. And so with you not being able to imagine a way out, you just start to see unhealthiness, or you start to interpret and in some way feel that unhealthiness is okay. It got to be okay. It's my mother. It's my mother who's hitting me in the mouth. Maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. You even accept it because it's the norm. Everybody else is going through it. It's popular. It's the in thing. So again, to make this simple, an addiction usually comes from something that is loving but hateful at the same time. So what happens? Let's just take a look at just a very simple way that I think anybody can understand. It's love and hate at the same time. Let's look at a cigarette. Just that release from smoking that cigarette. Oh, what a feeling. Even the scratchiness of the throat, you can overlook that. Even the constant fear of death and the things that are coming from it. This is an escape. You're loving. The love comes from one, the escape from getting away, and two, just the raw power to have something you could do that is in a way rebelling from your current situation. And even as ridiculous as this might sound, I think that when people are addicted, they are always trying to help themselves out. and I mean help themselves out of a situation. So just it's a love and a hate at the same time. Again, it's something that you love, but it's hateful towards you. Once you learn to accept that one time, especially at an early age, it's basically developing you into somebody who generally will start to love, and you will love things that are hateful towards you. You will love things that are destructive towards you. So it starts very early. And let's go deeper than that, because that's, to say, well, your mother did this, that would be to kind of not deal with it from its root. Let's just look at it from a society. We fall in love with good grades. And we know it's miseducation now that we're adults. But to come home with straight A's, some people would get punished if they didn't get straight A's in a white supremacist system. You get beat down for not saying the right lies. So again, you start to embrace and love. And then at certain points, maybe at 7 years old, you already want a perm. You want something to straighten your hair out. How did you know that it was better to be white by the society? I mean, it's just at 7 years. I mean, how do you know this so early? You're cracking jokes on your friends. Look at you, you're black, you're nappy-headed, blah, blah, blah. And again, how did you even know at such an early age? People are smarter than we really give them credit. That is a highly politicized move to want to straighten your hair and to not want your things that are indigenous to your DNA. So early on, you learn to love a whiteness that is anti-black. It is anti-self. It is deadly for you to be white. That means you got to kill your DNA traits. You got to kill what makes you you. You got to not identify with what makes you who you are. And that is definitely a psychotic split really early. It's so psychotic. Certain things that we take for granted. Well, why you want to be light-skinned or whatever it is, when you despise your natural state. So again, we're looking at the addiction to wanting to fit into a society that is anti-you at a very early age. And you fall in love with it. And to the point where the average black person out there maybe now is, just longing to live by whites, or all white neighborhoods. They pay no attention to stats. They pay no attention to all the murderous things that are happening towards them and even other whites. They believe that being around whites is safer, it's better. Righter, not whiter, but righter. And I mean, people are smart. They'll just say, "Oh man, I don't want to deal with no blacks. I'd rather be around them." I know so-called intelligent people just right now. I hate blacks, and black is the character that plays in Roots, Kunta Kinte. Blacker than that, they do not want nothing to deal with it. So again, what I'm trying to describe is a deep-seated love for destruction, and that's what happens. An addiction is when you inadvertently fall in love with destructiveness, self-destruction. To make it very clear, you're in love with it, but you didn't know you had this relationship because you can't, you're not that much of a scientist, an alchemist, and all these different things you would almost have to be to see what happens to you. And that is how addictions start. And what addiction really, just a simple definition for an addiction is frustration that cannot be resolved. And as the frustration cannot be resolved, the anger starts to implode. And you start to blow up on yourself. It's like if there's any men listening right now, when you first started out, you had this type of girl that you liked. But as sex progresses in your later years, you'll take anything. Oh, you don't have a choice. Well, they got pretty fingers. I like that. You had a choice. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like feet that turn this way. I don't like those shoulders. It reduces yourself to whoever smiles at you by the time that club is up. Your standard gets lower and lower. And it happens because there's some things in you that's pushing you. It ain't the people. It is the powerlessness that's continuing to roll and build and build and build. And the implosion comes out and says, I really just don't care. I don't care. I'm just like that. And y'all find a lot of thug characters to build up and to act like. And then it comes to where you hear people say, man, I just don't care. What happened to where you stop caring about life? Because when you say, I don't care, man, I don't care, you're saying I don't care about myself or my life. And indeed, when somebody says that, as you listen closely to them, you will realize Look at their habits. Look at their sugar intake. Look at their white flour intake. Look at their cigarette habits. Look at their cigarette habits. Look at their weed. Look at their sexual practices. And most people, if you talk to them long enough, they'll let you know when people feel guilty, say, man, I need to quit. You got to listen very closely because they're telling you there's something acting in me that is not me. Man, I don't know. Man, and they're saying it's them, but if you look at it, it has been a spirit of whiteness, if you will, that has, Dr. Amos called it a spirit possession, a demon possession. It's a perverted culture that is balled up so deeply in the person that it acts for the person now. And these are just, that's Dr. Amos Wilson that says that we've become possessed. And he made some examples generally. What names are we wearing on our clothes? What kind of names did we have before we became conscious? What kind of African gods do we serve? What language do we speak? I mean, how deep does it go? What it just made us think that was okay to be African people speaking an English language. Again, that just shows you. And lastly, moving a little bit away from the root of the addiction, I think one of the most overlooked forms of addiction is family addiction. You got members in your family that have raped one of your family members. You got people in your family that were just downright ugly, said you were going to die, whether it was a grandma, a mama, or uncle, or brother, and you feel obligated to go around these destructive people. And it never stops. They continue, and usually they're drunk or an alcoholic, and you make these excuses. But the truth of the matter is that's an addiction. You didn't fall in love with somebody who is never going to change. They're going to continue to hurt you. And you find a reason to go around them and stay around them and justify that. Let me say something about family addiction. A lot of us who became conscious, everybody who still had this deep-seated love and addiction for being around whites and their own destruction, turned against us. Bottom line, you can believe that everybody who is your blood is your family. That's not necessarily true. Blood makes you related. Love makes you a family. And that's an African concept, period. They believe that life in itself is God's blood. So you become kin to those that have life. And we believe, and we know that Africans have life. We don't have any historical proof that whites have it as a racial personality. And for those who like to get deep and say, well, I don't think all of them. Well, the point is not about all of them being anything. The point is that too many of them are and have participated or allowed this to go on. See? So, again, we're looking at family addictions. That's a serious one. You got to move away from your family. You cannot say just because y'all came and have some of the same blood that you are locked in this destructive relationship. People, you got the way to judge if somebody is a good family member is if they are making serious attempts to be your friend, meaning they interject friendliness. They have a sensitivity to your feelings. Some people think because they're older than you, they're in authority. And that's not necessarily true. So again, I just want to take a look at one that people don't seem to see, as an addiction. Family. That can be a very great place to start getting your freedom by getting away from anybody who's been hateful or being hateful and has been, and history shows that this is what they're going to do. Suck it up. Create another family. Right there. Sister Yaa?
All right, all right. Thank you, and I'm glad you did bring up the family, because in my kind of looking around, I checked out the internet a little bit to see what little things they were saying about addictions, understanding where that core was going to take me. But one line that struck me was that people who are addicted develop an intimate relationship with the way we put it, quote unquote, drug of choice. And I thought that even that's it's a term of endearment, my drug of choice. It makes something close to you. And I thought that spoke to how we go through so much abuse and have trouble with getting love and acceptance and what we really need emotionally from our family. And so we go out of loneliness looking for something to keep us company. And people who overeat, I think, can understand that. You need some sugar, you need some chocolate, you need your ice cream, whatever your poison is, to make you feel like somebody's there with you. You're not going through it alone. And even though it may even lead you to a place, obesity, lead you to where you're not even appealing to yourself, let alone to other people, but even the reason for that being to repel others, to keep them away, because you've chosen your intimate relationship with food, with something that you don't have to worry about a give and take and any life or risking getting hurt or anything like that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Like I said, I did want to stop and give people the opportunity to speak their mind. And if you have an addiction that you know about that wasn't mentioned, or just you wanna weigh in on the subject of addiction, if you're listening online, the number to call, if you want to say something, is 760-569-7676. The access code is 948-656#. Again, the number to call, 760-569-7676. Access code 948-656#. Sister Shabazz, you want to see if people who are on the line now have anything they want to say?
Sure. We'll go to the first call, 0499. You're live on More on the Horizon. 0499. All right, we'll assume that they are listening in. 3035, you're live on War on the Horizon. All right, thank you for listening. 6324, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Good evening, Sister Beth. Thank you, Sister Yaa Yaa, and Dr. Marcus. This is Layla. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm sitting here listening to all this. Man, I almost don't. I do have, as most people do, I do have the addiction of cigarettes that I'm kind of fighting with, and the sexual perversity of pornography is something I'm also dealing with. But I'm sitting here listening to everything that's being said. And Sister Yaa Yaa, you mentioned this intimacy, this intimate relationship that you form, and that's a real big thing. I don't have anything to add because it's just like everything was said. That's also true. I did have a question about the Ma'afa Sankofa process and how somebody may find some more information on how to learn how to put that into their life in place of these addictions.
What I would say as far as that goes is it's a cycle where one, you have to, and we'll get into, I think, steps a little bit later on as far as dealing with addictions particularly, but it's coming from a place to understand Africanness. So from where we sit, it would be re-Africanization. would equal the Sankofa process. You get what I mean?
Okay.
We're starting from a place of Ma'afa. We're in the destruction right now. So the Sankofa process is going back into re-Africanization, going back into whatever hurts you deep in your life, and seeing what all went wrong. Like I said, kind of analyzing and picking that apart, sorting that out, like Dr. Marcus said, the rage and things like that, in order to get back to see, one, what Ma'at is, what is balance for you, how do you get that once we've at a point where we've never really known it, and then, just operating that way. So when you feel yourself slipping off because life happens, then you go back into that same process again. Okay, where did I go wrong?
Okay.
As far as information on that particular process, I'm not sure where she's written it. I've seen Dr. Marimba speak about it in lectures personally or in person, I should say. So I'm not sure. I can find out where it's written, or maybe Dr. Marcus knows where she wrote about that particular cycle process.
Okay. All right. Thank you. But thank you.
No
I think what you're asking is how to resolve it. It sounds like.
Yeah, you're right.
How you resolve it without going deep into a construct, because that can be forever figuring out what somebody mean by it. I've heard the irritated genie say, first of all, a lot of us, we'd be free if the lions, the sleeping lions, if we could just awake the sleeping lions. It's greatness in you. That's where she's coming from. That's what Sister Yaa Yaa was trying to explain to you. The balance is there. But so what now you got to become aware of what was an African in the beginning. Cigarettes was not an African thing. Look at the history of cigarettes. Look at the history of destruction, period. Look at the history of unnatural things. See, a lot of a lot of dietary practices we have are coming from transplanted fruits and vegetables. Even the way we eat the fruits have been colonized. The foods have been taken out of this natural place of growth and planted other places. So it ain't natural, a lot of things that we're doing. So one of the things in simplicity is to take a look. If it's something you feel guilty about, take a look at how unnatural it is. That's what my office is looking at, the unnatural process of what was put on you. And then it comes to what happened to throw you off balance. What happened? And how did you buy into it? And say, for instance, what year did I start wanting to smoke cigarettes? Because cigarettes is always trying to be accepted somewhere that you're not being accepted at. You're trying to be accepted. Even if that's a dangerous drug, people generally want to fit somewhere. They want to be able to do something right. So here we go. A lot of times you're dealing with an overcritical parent, to be exact. A lot of people, they're not bad kids or nothing. They might have some parents, it doesn't matter what they do. They didn't do it good enough. So you have a lot of parents are hateful towards their kids just because they're not white. There's nothing you could have done. They have a godly image. They see a white woman and a white man and a kid. That's their holy trinity. And everything they're doing to you is built off of something they saw just on an average trailer park white family. They want you to behave on what, like them. They are trying to model reality behind the fiction that is being pumped by the media. So again, you have sometimes overcritical parents. We're gonna say that something, they're adopting this white mind, this white behavior, and they are trying to unrealistically sometimes put their children in this mindset. They believe in it. This fiction has become a falsification of reality for a lot of people. A lot of times, there we go with the cigarettes. So again, you're dealing with rejection. A lot of people are frustrated because they don't feel accepted. And some people are dealing with a secret so dark and deep when they've been molested that they want to escape away from themselves. Because a lot of times people are raped. They say, well, nobody's really going to want me because I did all these things and this and this and this and that. But a lot of times, a lot of people haven't dealt with some of the feelings that they did like about, say, for instance, the different abuses. Because sex is titillating, whether it was good for the right reason or if it was wrong. A lot of times people start to accept, well, something's wrong with me. Because they start to long for things that were imputed on them through other people. Now, it becomes a love-hate thing because I was supposed to hate this. But now I got this sexuality that has been turned on. I was over-sexualized, and here I am running and living in a reality that I didn't ask for. And I don't even approve of. So, again, this love-hate thing. And a lot of people, it's hard for them to deal with frustrating questions. Again, I'm trying to get really close to really narrowing it down to what I'm trying to say about these addictions. What I'm saying is a lot of times if you can do the math, it becomes complicated when you have to accept, I hated my white-minded parents. I hated that white in them. They betrayed me. They hated me. They didn't like me. That's a hard thing to do. So when it's something that's frustrating, you just start overlooking it like it didn't happen and start to lie. Well, I can love them, and they did all right. That was okay. They can dog me and hate me and tell me I'm a reject and I'm nothing and I'm not white enough. Hey, that's fine. So once you accept one lie, you become dead. And you start to live in lies the rest of your time until you go to look back and say, wait a minute, I don't like this. I don't like that feeling, and I never liked that feeling. But when you're basically forced to accept liking something that's wrong, that's doing you wrong, it's easier to have an appetite for other wrong things. That's without all the ma'afa, the balance, and all the deep African constructs flat out. You find out what it is that hurts you. Find out what it is that hurts you. Look at what hurt you and be honest. If you could write in your journal, be honest. I hate it. I felt like I hated them. I know I'm supposed to love them. But see, I've come to the resolution in my own life. I just say, well, I love my mother. But I didn't like a lot of things that she willingly and unwillingly did. Whether it was ignorance or not, I don't give a damn. I didn't like it.
Yeah. All right.
So again, hopefully does that do anything to kind of help you just look at it and start coming to resolution?
It does. It does, and listening to what you're saying, it just I think a lot of times when I hear, everybody goes through things in every day, and I just kind of went through something today where, when I think you were talking about separating from the family members, I just find yourself around your family members, and then when you get to the point where you constantly receiving that treatment that is not, even though you're getting a smile, somebody smiling at you, you can tell that what's behind the smile is not friendly. And then when you got to fight back against that or speak up against it or try to confront it, and then, everyone, denies it, and then you're the one sitting on the outside like you making a big deal out of nothing. So I, like nothing just happened, but at the same time, it is clear that it comes down to, that these things happened a long time ago, and they get planted.
You fall in love with them.
Yeah.
You fall in love. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but I like to say to resolve it, start knowing really what it amounts to. To be very clear is you don't know what feels good to you anymore. Things that do not feel good to you, you are in a place where you've been in so much denial that you don't know it don't feel good. So if you can identify some deeper hurts, you can really start to come back to yourself and say, you know what? I don't want to do this. This hurting me. I don't like the taste of this anyway. I am getting high from a cigarette. I get hype every time I smoke. People are thinking, oh, this is just a cigarette. I'm not getting high. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It alters your brain. I don't care how short it is, how quick you need another one or desire to keep that high up. But people are even in denial that it's a high. It's a mood-altering drug. So again, the process is identifying hurt to the point to where you can stay away from things that hurt you now. So again, if you couldn't stay away from the things that you loved and hated a long time ago, you just got a lot of practice at dealing with love-hate. So although you hate the cigarette, you just love the freedom of having some power over something. So identify the hurt, and then you will get to a place to where you are so into understanding what makes you feel a certain way. Because that's the thing. You become neurotically lost in this place to where you can't feel what hurts anymore. You don't even know your taste anymore. So again, that's just hitting it right there. If you can identify where it hurts and go deep and honest, you can start to stop doing certain things that hurt you. Because you're not in that unreality. Now you have the choice. You're not with a domineering person. And I know it's kind of verbose what I'm saying, but it's such a layered situation that I just want to continue to be clear. So that's why I keep going over the same thing in a way.
No, that's absolutely something. Definitely something I could work with. I appreciate that, Dr. Marks. And thank you all thank you family for the information given out.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, we have a couple more callers on the line. 3674, you're live.
Black Power.
Black Power.
Like,
How y'all doing tonight?
doing
All
great.
right.
Doing good.
True. I'm glad I heard the show last week. I thought it was a recording, and then found out it was a live show. So I'm glad to hear you brothers and sisters on the line tonight. I kind of want to get into what is it I was thinking when I was listening to the program. As it relates to addiction, white folks, they naturally addicted to things. They're very prone to addiction. And in the previous, right before the show came on, Ms. Wilson was talking about how, black people, we try to identify with our oppressor rather than fight our oppressor. Because in one of his books, he spoke on how before in the 60s and 70s, black folks who are addicted to drugs would take downers. Now black folks is taking uppers, because he was saying, I guess he was alluding to the fact that the type of drug you take really, is based on your state of mind. If you live in a good life, you're going to take something that's going to make you high as opposed to something that makes you down, if you will. But what do you think, about, in particular with drugs? I mean, I know we live in a very hypersexual society. But as it relates to drugs, and especially with foods, can you even begin to separate the two? Based on studies that was done by the University of Miami saying that, for example, sugar is just as addictive as cocaine, if not even more. Can you separate the two in terms of addiction? I mean, it kind of seems like there's, like how the program sounds like there's classifications with addictions, but addiction is, don't you think?
Say the one last part again. Addiction is what?
When classifying addiction, addiction is addiction overall.
True.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, do you think there's any difference in terms of classifying addiction as opposed to whether you're using cocaine or you're addicted to salt, or if you're addicted to sex, as opposed to being addicted to, starving yourself to get a particular image or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely say it goes beyond the presenting symptom, if you will. It goes beyond the substance or the action, as far as what makes something an addiction. Like Dr. Marcus was saying, the root is the anger that makes you so frustrated, but you have no resolve for it. So if you just start there, If you let it go and persist that way, then an addiction is going to come out of it. It doesn't matter what it is. The person may not have heroin to get to become addicted to, but they have chocolate. So I wouldn't say that you could classify the actual substance or action, because like you said, starving yourself and overeating, both addictions. Food, if you don't eat it, you will die. So you can't just say, food in general. Now I do agree. Certain foods are just drugs purely. White sugar is almost anything white in general is going to be drugs that's been processed in most cases to get it that way. And like you said, sugar and cocaine, I looked it up. It's one atom difference between sugar and cocaine. They're basically the same substance. But we listen to white folks and let them tell us what's legal and legitimate to consume as opposed to what will give you time in prison. And we think that one is better than the other. So I get what you're saying, but no, and that the addiction is the anger that you have not resolved and that you resolved instead to use to hurt yourself. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
If I could say this, that I caught your question from a different angle. I think what you're saying is, why are we, in a sense, you're saying, well, we're making this big deal about cocaine, but we know sugar is just as addictive. And what happens is whites made it popular to say this about cocaine because it was a Ponzi. They brought the cocaine in, but then they put it on the media as this bad drug so they can make more money off of the prison. It was a profit. It was a big Ponzi. And it backfired here and there off of poor whites or, and the rich again. They'll have ways out of a lot of situations because they're not going to send their own kids to jail. They'll find something, some kind of rehabilitation. They'll find some kind of clause because they made the laws. They'll just rewrite something else. So again, it's like the sugar, and we give basically glory to certain kinds of death. Like cancer is just as deadly as AIDS. But if you say you got cancer, you feel a little more noble than if you caught HIV. You see, so again, it's like, why are you so bad to have cancer and it kills you, and HIV will kill you? So I think I hear what you meant by this. And again, a lot of it is because whatever the whites say, we have a general propensity to ride with that. Oh yeah, I ain't on no crack. But then you with prostitutes, you're addicted to violence. You're whatever it is you're doing, and you're doing, but you have this thing you can look bad on the crack person, and you time before a lot of the crack addicts. Look at the people who die from high blood pressure, sugar, diabetes, cancer. Sugar is a very deep cancer-causing agent. People in their 30s and 40s dying from it, and then at least they wasn't on crack. They get a noble death. A noble. So I think I heard that from that angle, and I think the answer to that is we generally ride with whatever we see on TV. They make people gods, and they make certain things devils just by whatever they put on their well-lighted Technicolor films and TV screens. They can make it a god or a devil. Hopefully that answers it a little bit.
Yeah. Just one more thing I just want to ask this to both parties. What about the mind state of somebody? In terms of, although it's all classification, I used to smoke cigarettes years ago, and I used to drink, but I was never addicted to it and always knew that I could quit at any time because I saw the crackheads in my neighborhood, and I didn't like the idea of being addicted to something based on how I saw them. What do you think? Somebody's mind state also plays a factor in terms of addiction?
Well, I think mind state, some people have a mind state where they can get out, but then you got to also look at the chemicals. The chemicals, the darker the person is, the more he's going to like the drug in a sense because they picked out certain things that deal with melanin. It is a melanin-related chemistry because come on, man, in 84, the average, a lot of the brothers wasn't into science where they could build and ball, no crack cocaine, and so on and so forth. So it was a chemistry game going on in the street that the brothers wasn't in the chemistry like that. So again, these things are, I hate to say, but I almost said the word melanated, but they're calibrated in a way to make it stick to certain people. So it's going to be a lot of strong, brilliant brothers like you that say, well, I'm not going to get on that. But look at the other people who it could affect differently chemically that was equally strong, but it had a stronger chemical bond with them. So I'm not saying that I think the chemical can sometimes do it too. And that's a great thing because whatever you have, we like to hear about it so we can help people do what you did. Because the cigarette, I saw people get off of cocaine, but that cigarette usually a patch or some herbs or something is generally the way people get off of them. One or two cases you hear of people, like yourself. But whatever it is that you have, write about it and let us know what it is you did. Because you might know something. I'm sure you know something. We could use that. Whatever it is, whatever angle you have, we need to duplicate that angle. If you could put it in words or describe it in some way.
It's like the show tonight is based on addiction, and addiction is pretty much a habit. It's just, I mean, I'll be listening though, man. I really appreciate the show tonight, brother. Definitely appreciate it.
We appreciate you too, brother. Thank you.
Black power.
Black power.
Black power.
All right. 2013, you're live. Brother, you're live on War on the Horizon. All right, let's give him just a moment. Maybe he walked away from the phone here. Let's try one more time. Brother True? Brother, you're live on War on the Horizon. All right, I think he had something to add on, but we'll try coming back to him in just a little bit. And those are all the calls we have for right now. I am getting a little bit of interference from Dr. Marcus's line. I'm not sure.
Are you getting some interference? Maybe I could just call back then.
Maybe. Are you outside, or it sounds like maybe some wind?
I am outside.
Okay, well, it's probably just some wind, and it might go away.
Okay.
All right.
Was that everybody from the phone line, Sister Shabazz, for now?
That's everybody for now.
Okay. Well, one thing that I did want to bring up was addiction as it relates to war. And what I found is, as we discussed all these different, addictions, violence even came up, family, but white sugar, flour, retail shopping, all the different things, I started to think about it, and it's like what happens to us, and from the white man and the white woman, of course, this comes to us, because like we know, as Dr. Marcus even said, Africans didn't start with an addictive racial personality. We honored and deified balance. So that wasn't a part of our original culture. It wasn't a part of our tradition. So what has happened with us being in contact with this white man and white woman, and I do appreciate the last caller who mentioned that they are more addictive or more easily addicted to things. I had not heard that in particular. That surprised me, knowing all the terrible ailments they have being what they are. But what I thought was, we may have this outside persona. We have this person that everybody meets, and a lot of times we build this person up to be a particular thing because we want to be protected by people, our representative, if you will. So we have personal lives, and what happens is with these addictions, the white woman become king and queen of our personal lives. They are in control. They put their desire in us, and that's what we work for. That's what we need. That's what life is all about for us, is fulfilling this, what we think is a need, these addictions. It's like, instead of fighting and destroying where they take root inside of us, like we try to do through re-Africanization, instead, with addictions, we feed them, and we give them everything that they want, everything they say we want, and everything that they make. And so when we crown them king and queen over our personal lives, we're actually making them billionaires in real life. I looked at Forbes' list of the top 100 billionaires, and just a very surface compilation of some of the numbers that I saw, but it's basically like we're made to be traitors to our people, and this is how we do it. They say, okay, we're going to give you guys something to keep yourselves busy, because they can't have African people with free time and free minds and clear minds to think, because we may come up with a way to liberate ourselves. We may figure out that we're enslaved and there's something that we can and will and should do about it. So what they constantly do is give us things to keep us busy. And this is where addictions come in. But one of the things they gave us, Facebook. And it's easy, want to keep in contact with people, but we get fooled into thinking that this is actually social media. Some people are fooled. They forget they're sitting alone with their computer, their laptop, their phone on Facebook, being so social. I know everybody doesn't use it. Everybody's not addicted. But Mark Zuckerberg is worth $17.5 billion, the creator of Facebook. This is what we're doing to help our entities along. In telecom, I had to compile some names. So I don't have particular names. I could get them, but they're all on Forbes.com. Telecom, meaning our phones, $110.4 billion. Google and Amazon, $55.8 billion. This was very interesting, because some people who think people have addictions to shopping, they may think about more high dollar shopping, the Gucci, the Fendi, Walmart. Now, on this list of 100 people, 4 people in the Walton family, the family that's over Walmart, their total net worth is $95.4 billion. H&M, $26.0 billion. The total retail on the list was $188.7 billion. And it goes down the list. Chocolates and candy, $60.4 billion. So you could think, well, okay, so I have an addiction. That's my personal business. This is what I do on my own free time. I'm not hurting anybody. Let's say you're one of the people who don't smoke cigarettes, so you're not in the presence of children than by smoking cigarettes around kids, because people do that, and their own kids. But the things that we do, Nike, and we know how much black people have invested in Nike and gotten nothing back for our investment. Phil Knight, $14.4 billion. Like, we're making these people filthy thinkers. And I think what we don't see is that they literally, because of that, they market their products particularly to us. A really good video about that is Mama Mary Rakwayzi's video advertising the attack on the African image. And she goes through piece by piece through years how they've attacked our images but used them against us, but to make us go out and purchase, because we will be the ones to purchase. Oftentimes, we've all heard we're the largest group of consumers. So, I just wanted to point out that, okay, I went to school for psychology, and going through the different types of psychology that a person can go through, or the industries that they can go into as branches of psychology, the most lucrative one is working for marketing firms. So you make more money as a psychologist if you go to marketing firms and tell them how to market their products. And what that's doing is creating addictions in people for profit. That's what you're doing as a psychologist. Psychologists are using the field of marketing to create addictions in people for profit. This is how they're fighting against us. And television, for those who don't know, many of us know, but television is not about the shows that you watch. The shows are what you watch in between commercials. TV is really about the advertisement. This is why they keep us entertained, so they get our minds open to a certain degree to where they can put in their subliminal or their very direct marketing ploys. So we're constantly being fought against and made into addicts to continue to fund our enemy's war against us. So just add that to your things, your list of things, sorting through addictions that you may have to think are addiction. And a video also, the shows that promote their products also promote their way of life. And a lot of the War on the Horizon family is familiar with the Fighting the Poltergeist series, but I would definitely recommend it to anybody out there who hasn't seen it. It's a very good example, and it shows you piece by piece, play by play, how they're using the media against us and injecting their culture and their ways of quote-unquote white supremacy against us as a people. We already talked a little bit about steps to combating or battling or defeating addictions in our lives. And I really wanted to bring that up as a topic, the fact that addictions can be fought and won, because from what I've seen out there, ways to battle addictions that a lot of people go to and really swear by are these 12-step programs. And I hate to knock them, but I have a problem if somebody's going to you for a problem and you tell them, well, the first thing you need to understand is once you're an addict, you're always going to be an addict. I kind of never really understood that really well. Like, so I'm coming to you for help, but what you're telling me is, okay, first things first, you're not really going to get the help you really want and need, but come to us anyway. And I think that can be damaging to people, that you're defeated immediately in that way. And then for anybody who's ever been to one of these 12-step programs, any of the meetings, I would think it would be hard for anyone to find one of those meetings where they don't have a coffee pot and some sweets. So do they really understand the nature of addiction and the fact that it's not about the particular substance, but what's at the root of it, what's behind the abuse or the addiction? So I wanted to bring that up to people and know that there are ways to fight addictions. And like I said, reality is the enemy of reality.
Can I say something before you move to that point, if I can?
Yes.
Well, going back to what you were saying about all the different monies they're making, at the end of the day, the trick is they know they build up an appetite for people to want to escape into this whiteness that doesn't exist. It's a certain whiteness that they painted out to be a godliness, a freshness, a newness. Is everything that represents good. The dictionary all the way to digital media is giving you this false fictional reality that whites are these smiling faces that are always coming to save the day. So for those like that person who takes psychology and now can go to a marketing firm to try to be a psychologist, it's very simple what they're saying. Go market whiteness. Go find people who will fall for this little fairy tale and this 30-second commercial or this 2-minute commercial, and it becomes simple. You know, basically show this beautiful, dark, curly-headed African how they could just be at a wedding bed, hair white and flowing in the wind. And it's an easy process because look at what look how easy it is now. Get you some blonde weaves. Just it's simple. But what I want to come in on was what you said about the 12-step programs or 10 steps or AAA or AAA, whatever these foolish notions are, when they just tell you, oh, you're going to always be an addict. They're basically telling you in simple, you're going to always love something that you hate. Now look how arrogant that is. As long as you're living, you're going to have this love for white sex and white gluttony and white destruction. You're going to have a love for that the rest of your life. So you're going to be an addict. You're going to implode. You're going to continue to keep imploding because there's nothing you can do about it. We got this on lock. Don't worry about it. You're going to be an addict. You're going to be hurting, and it ain't nothing you can do about it. So here you go. And I don't go deep into what they're saying. I look at a lot of the black psychologists and health people, definitely Dr. Lady of Africa, Dr. Amos Wilson. When I deal with that, but I just want to point out that just in essence telling you, you're going to always love something that's hateful towards you. And that is not true. I'm a living witness that is not true. You are not going to always love something that's being hateful to you. I don't care what position of authority it has on you. You're not going to always love that. What the caller pointed out, though, is we're so bombarded with every single thing that they give us. And being that we have given them or allowed them to be in power, every single thing that they distribute, you have to watch it closely. They got all these big words and labels on the back of these jars. You don't know none of these words. They made up words. And you assume because they've been packaged neatly, they're organized. They're not good in no form or fashion. They're very destructive, but they organize that destruction and make you feel like you are part of something neat. It's just organized. So again, I just want to point that out.
Thank you. That's a very, very good point. Very good point. Sister Shabazz, did we have any more callers that maybe we can let speak if they'd like to?
Sure. My brother, you are live on War on the Horizon.
Peace. A big before Hodier. This is Brother True speaking.
Peace.
Before Hodier.
Yeah, I just want to say I came on late, but I know that the show is about addiction. I've been listening, and I appreciate the show. I think it's an excellent show. And you're absolutely right, brother. You will not be addicted forever. For example, I was addicted to alcohol. I was addicted to weed and cigarettes, and I'm no longer addicted. And what I want to tell the listeners or those who are struggling with addiction, a lot of times we're in denial. For example, a lot of people may say that I'm being extreme by saying I was addicted to alcohol. Well, if you can't do something without a substance, then you're addicted. I couldn't go to the mall. I couldn't hang out with my friends. I couldn't go on a date without a cup. And I did some study not too long ago that spoke about pleasure and pain and about how most of human behavior is motivated by these two things, either avoiding pain or gaining pleasure. And I agree with it because the way I stopped smoking weed is I caught my charge, and I was put on probation. And I gave one dirty urine, and they told me, if you give us another one, you'll go to jail. And guess what? All of a sudden, I wasn't addicted to weed anymore.
Right.
So that's because I reached my threshold of pain. The image or just thinking about doing heavy time was enough. Now, some may argue, well, I got cousins that's on probation. I gave dirty urines. They didn't stop. They didn't reach their threshold of pain. To them, going to jail wasn't painful enough. To me, that's all I needed. Even something like cigarettes. The way I stopped smoking cigarettes, I was sick one time. I smoked a cigarette, and I had a throat infection, and it burnt. I felt like this severe pain on my throat. I stopped. So it's just about conditioning yourself. If it's not physical pain, then conditioning yourself. You know, and thinking about your loved ones, and also having a substitute. Now, I'm certified by Dr. Africa. I'm into health and fitness. You know, I study martial arts. So finding a substitute to, I don't want to say suffice that pleasure, but something, a substitute to take place at that time. Because
fill that void, yeah.
Right, exactly. And I heard someone, I'm not sure who said it, you do definitely have to dig deep. You got to find out why. You got to find that root cause, because if you keep trying to mask it, what happens, you just keep juggling different addictions, you know. And so I just wanted to add that on to the cipher to those that's listening. It's definitely possible, and no, you're not going to be addicted forever. And I'm not a believer of the whole, let me just cut down. Nah, you either do. Bruce Lee said, do or do not do. You know, when you cut down, what eventually happens is, whatever triggers, you know, that stressful situation, you're going to end up drinking again. You're going to end up smoking again. So the best thing to do is just quit. And you got to be a scientist with this. You got to be your own psychologist. You got to condition yourself. And just, you know, just keeping that in mind, that most of our behaviors are motivated by pleasure and pain. And of course, you know, living in this oppressive society by these devils, by these beasts, you know, our people are dealing with a lot of pain. So it's natural for them to find an escape route, whether it's the illusion of a social network, whether it's the illusion of you know, escaping reality through drugs or weed or even violence. Some people are addicted to violence. It makes them feel good. You know, understand what I'm saying? Because we want to feel good. And also the association. You know, you mentioned the commercials. You know, you're watching a commercial, people are having fun, so you start to associate having fun with drinking. So now you're not having fun unless you're drinking. So just realizing that, man, you know, don't be a zombie. Don't fall for that trick knowledge, like we say in the Nation of Gods of Earth. And it's definitely possible. And you know, whether you got to find your own pain or the painful moment will come. You know, it's not that death.
Oh, you know, we'd like to really, really thank you. And the thing about this show is, it's a lot of people with egos, but I guarantee you it's people just like you that know as much and more than we do. And anybody, it's people holding information that nobody has. And we love that we love this participation because I'm growing and I'm listening. I like to say this, not to add or chime in, because what you said speaks for itself. Know that anything that you can hear or see is a strand of DNA that can live in you. Once it get in you, it will cause a reaction. That is giving you behavior. We call it conceptual impregnation. So what happens, you hear something or see something, it's alive. That is that European construct of the belief, because the word nature, they make things dead. They despiritualize their word. But in the African understanding, things are alive. So you hear a sound and you hear words. Words are alive and they build in you. Because if you react to them, that adrenaline is going to cause a different behavior.
Right.
So behavior and action, wait a minute. And if you do certain actions, your physicality starts to change.
That's right.
So know that messages are either giving you a pro-African or a pro-death message.
That's right.
And so I'm in total agreement, but you guys keep calling in and keep helping us because we need to learn. Because it ain't books that teach you, it's people that teach you.
Yeah, brother, I just want to say, oh man, it's my pleasure. It's actually my honor. Thank you. And I think that shows like this are very important because these are the type of things that, how can I put it, that we ignore. You know, I'm hearing about all these, I'm from the tri-state area, and we having debates about dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? When it's the stuff like this, like addiction, really plaguing our people. If we fix things like this, then we can start to walk upright. And then if we fix addiction, then you'll have time to think. then you have time to absorb the information, not these silly debates and all that. And that's not what I'm into anymore. I used to be. That stuff is WWF, it's entertainment. So I just want to say that this is an important show. Like even Lady, Shabazz with her, family and, how to treat a black man, how to treat a black woman, relationships. This is the thread in the fabric that makes up our community. And this is important. I just want to say that. So, Santi Shana to y'all for having the show.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, you can go hold here. Black Power.
Black Power.
Black Power.
All right. Next call, 4944. You're live on War on the Horizon.
Hello. I just want to tune in with the station. I've been listening with a keen ear. And you guys have been targeting some very key issues as far as our culture, as far as us as black people as a community. But I haven't heard anyone speak on the addiction at the opposite side, as far as like being a drug dealer and being caught into the illusion where you become a consumer and you get caught into the lifestyle of selling drugs and killing our community as black people. My name is Anthony Houston. I'm from Austin. I'm currently living in Austin, Texas. But I'm tuned in and listening to you guys, and I appreciate the conversations that I've heard as well. But I myself was addicted to the lifestyle of selling drugs and killing our people with the poison that these people are providing for us to get out here while they're so-called fighting the war on drugs. We have brothers, facing life sentences, chasing these dreams and getting caught into this lifestyle. And I myself was manipulated and served 140 months due to this. But I would like to say I'm no longer addicted to the lifestyle. I'm currently living a great life, and it's hard, growing up in a society that we live in where, we aren't being taught what's right. We are each one, isn't teaching. Teaching each one, the lessons that we know and that we go by and that we should be living by. So it's really a battle. It's a war. Like Jamal Bryant said, a world war me. This really is a battle that we're facing as a generation, as a culture, as a people. And it has to be a solution to what it is that we're battling against. And I agree with the television, and people getting caught into this is really an illusion that these people are paying for us, and we're suffering as a culture, So, I mean, that's just what I want to bring to the station, and that's what I want to share with you guys. Because it's also an addiction too, being addicted to the lifestyle, selling drugs, and it's harmful to us because we're being locked away, hidden, where our voices aren't being able to be heard, and we're just dying off as a culture, and that's just clear cut. So that's my point of view.
Brother, I wanted to so you're saying that your addiction was to not taking the drugs necessarily, but selling the drugs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the highlight for something like that? If that's your drug, what's your high?
The high when you living this lifestyle and you have this frame of mind, it's almost like being invisible. You have extreme force. You feel like you feel as though you have complete power over everything in your circumference.
everything that's going on around you, you feel like you're basically in control of it. It just gives you, like they say, how when you're young and you're going out on a Friday night or whatever, you're enjoying your night out. It's basically living every day like that. You may make $4,500 one day, and or 55, whatever whatever the number may be, whatever level that you're on. But it's really an illusion that you feel like you can't be touched. It gives you this higher feeling that that you're unstoppable. And it kind of takes what our vision is away from you. You're blinded. It's almost like having 2200 vision. That's just like basically walking deaf, dumb, and blind. You can't see anything. The only thing you can see is the picture that's painted before you. And this is a game that these people play with us. So I just want to encourage the brothers that's out there, that's living this lifestyle, to think twice, about the choices that you're making and the life that you're living, because the consequences are severe, and you will have to pay a cost for them. So I believe that this radio station could possibly help change a lot of people's lives, as well as educate individuals on where they need to be in life.
I had a question for you, brother. You said you was in Austin. You live in Austin, Texas?
Yes, sir.
What part of Austin?
I'm currently living in Central Austin.
Okay. Cause I'm out in Austin as we speak.
Okay.
And so it'll be great if you can. I'd like to just link up with you and any brothers like you, and we build.
Definitely, most definitely. Because I feel as though it's very important that we get together as people, because we can make an impact on our community. Because I myself, I feel as though I owe the community a great deal, because I'm very remorseful for the things that I've done. And, it's a lot of young people that I see, they're definitely in search of knowledge, but they don't know how to go about doing it. So they join gangs, they start to sell these drugs. They start to do these things at an early age. And the devil is always busy. They're gonna put things before you, and they're gonna paint these pictures. And they're gonna make you feel that all this stuff is righteous. But we as people, we are all created with righteousness, and we have righteousness in us. But we're led astray to what society paints for us. And I would love to get with you. I would love to get with you, and I would love to, get with some of the youth and, speak out and, try to change some of these young individuals' perception on life in general.
There's definitely a place for you to do this. Just to chime in and add to what you were saying, and again, people with your brilliance and intelligence, and just I could hear your tone. You're serious about what you do. You're gonna move people, but this is what makes this show. Because generally shows like this, when you have a good topic, it just incites that African brilliance in a lot of our people. But what I like to say is that we're using these drug dealer characters to escape out of our African. We don't want to be African. And the reason we don't want to be African, because they've imputed this lie in our mind that we're up against such a colossal enemy. They don't know that whites are just 5% of the world's population. So it's in our minds we can't beat these crackers. And the truth of the matter is we're trying to escape away from being African. Well, I'm from the hood, as if that's African, as if that's all that you are.
Right.
You can be from a hood, but everybody has a neighborhood. Your zip code don't supersede your African.
Right.
So people are jumping into that. Hold on one second. let me just throw my information out there, and I'm gonna throw this information out for people who might need re-Africanization or somebody to talk to or just want to build. My number is 917-736-1776.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say that again, just in case people just need somebody that's gonna lead them into back to their right African mind. It's 917-736-1776. So at any time, text me, let me know, and we'll come get you, or we'll meet somewhere, and we'll build. Because we definitely need the youth, and we need them now.
Yes, sir.
Now we could put something. If they mad and they angry, we got somebody for you to be mad at.
Right.
We're doing everything here on Warren Horizon to build not just a whole bunch of talk, but we build an economic infrastructure. With one thing I think would help a lot of our people and the youth is if they had a job they could go to that was building for them.
Right.
You know, there's some economics too, but I ain't gonna belabor the point. Maybe Sister Yaa has something to say to add into this.
Well, I'm so glad that the brother called and said what he said, because I think a lot of people who are in the hustling lifestyle don't see it as an addiction. They don't see it as an illusion. They see real money that they're getting. They don't see the people that are in their community that they're hurting as actual people. And they think, I like the fact that you put the money and the power in the big picture of the illusion. And it sounded like what you were saying overall is you felt like you were a white man. You felt like, you know what I'm saying, you were untouchable. You could do whatever you wanted to do, make all the money you could possibly make, and more and more and more, and hurt whoever you could hurt, and not have to face it ever. And not ever be shot down, and not ever be confronted by it. Like you said, you felt invisible. And I believe that's what drives them. They think that there's never a day coming where they have to answer for what they're doing and the exploitation that they're committing against people. And you put it right where it is. You and other people in that position who don't see people as people, who are targeting black people with these substances from the crackers, like you so aptly mentioned, they don't see themselves as terrorists. And really, that's what they are. They're trying to be white men, and they are the perfected terrorists of the world, the original gangsters. So I'm just glad you really put that in perspective for people to see it in that way.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I appreciate y'all taking my call, and I'll definitely be listening. This is my first time chiming in. But I'll definitely be in tune with the station, and I'll also, encourage others to get involved as well.
Spread the word out there, and definitely call back in, because it's your calls, your minds. We don't learn from books. We learn from the people who write them. And we believe that your African brilliance, along with every other brilliant African that calls in, builds. This is how we learn. We're not chasing behind crackers. We're trying to find it from our people. We believe that the remedy, that Messiah, is coming from us, that will save our people. It's one of us. And we don't believe that, jail and your lifestyle and all that. No, what you want to do now saves us. So we don't have that judgment. We're not crackers. We're not trying to brand every black person as bad. Oh, you have a record. Yeah. You were enslaved with an E-N. Incarcerated.
Right.
With an E-N instead of the I-N, the E-N. We think it was wrong regardless. They wrong. They were wrong. They put you in that situation. At the end of the day, we're watching TV and we're just more smart than we think we are. We're actually living out these gangster flicks and these action films. We're living it out. We don't see how great, we don't see the great job we're doing being white. We don't really see how white we really can act. Denzel ain't got nothing on us in these streets. Oscar Mayer, do you hear me? Straight Oscar Mayer wieners, though. We win an Oscar. Mayer wiener.
Yeah, You said a mouthful, brother.
Well, we thank you for your call, brother, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yes, sir.
Take care, brother.
All right.
All right. Looks like the last call of the day, 5469. You're live. 5469. Did you have a question or a comment? All right. We'll assume that they're just listening in. And that should be it for now.
You said that was it?
Yep, that should be the last call.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, as far as getting into, I think the overall theme for how to get out of an addiction starts with, and Dr. Marcus went in deeply into it, but I think the major point is committing yourself to looking at reality. Like the brother mentioned, we're all surrounded by illusion. We're all surrounded by, you can feel good by doing this, and you don't have to, grow and learn and look into yourself and see what you've been through and what it's done to you. That's not true, and they want to keep you asleep. We have to understand that. So just begin to commit yourself to seeing reality and just looking into yourself. Just to start to sort things out in your life as a start for addictions. And I don't want to get too far into that because, like I said, next week I hope everything goes well, to get a person to talk on the line about addictions. But he doesn't like to call himself a master herbalist, but he is that, and he's worked for over 20 years, beginning with his addiction. So I wanted to let him talk on some other solutions, as well as others that we may have to offer on the subject of addictions and how to get out of them. Sister Shabazz, did you have anything you wanted to add or ask or interject or anything?
Actually, I am pretty clueless when it comes to addiction, so I'm going to leave that for the experts. But we did have one more call sneak in. I thought that we were all done, but we have somebody else, so we can see if they have anything to add to the conversation.
Beautiful.
All right. 9511, you're live on War on the Horizon.
No, ma'am, I didn't have anything. I was just listening in.
All right. Well, thanks for listening.
I talked earlier. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Generally, Mr. Bass, we always want to hear your insight. You say, well, I don't know nothing and this and that. You always know something. You got to stop it. You got to give us something. We're not going to let you make it. And it ain't no filler. You just generally hit it right on the money when you open your mouth. So we just like to hear what you think. Chime in on something you heard that even piqued your interest. On accident, you might say something smarter than we could ever think.
Well, and the reason I say that is just because I came into knowledge so young. I really didn't have time to experiment and do a lot of things. I've pretty much been able to be disciplined to stop myself if I saw extremes. I've tried to stay balanced. But I guess the one thing that I could say, I know you were talking about 12-step programs and if they really work. I had actually heard where they found that there was a nutritional aid for depression. It was mega doses of a vitamin called niacin. And it actually helped one of the founders of AA kick the habit, and he tried to bring that in as part of the program, and the other powers that be would not allow him to do that. So when I heard that that was part of what had helped him heal, and then it was not a part of the program, is not advertised as a part of the program, and then realizing what you said, it is pretty demeaning to have to stand up and admit that I'm an alcoholic and I'm always going to be an alcoholic, this is something that you can never heal from. I thought that that was really, really deep. When we talk about why these programs generally are not effective with our people, I don't think that they were ever intended to be.
Like you said, right on the money. I think that's absolutely true. It was never their intention. And it's funny meeting people who have gone through these 12-step programs. Some of them become addicted to the 12-step program. And it sounds weird, but it's what they talk about. They got their little pins, and okay, they kick, maybe some heavier substance habits like crack or something like that. But like we all learned this evening on the show, an addiction is an addiction. It doesn't matter how it manifests itself. It's that anger inside yourself that just keeps on ricocheting, bouncing around, and keeps on tormenting you. So I thought that was very unfortunate in the people I had seen that in, because they will never ever see it, because the 12-step program is their saving grace and their quote-unquote drug of choice. So, wow. Yeah, it's of course we know now, have an understanding that we do, that anything that white folks are offering us, we should definitely obviously not accept, but question any reason why they come to us saying they have something to help us with, knowing that they're trying to kill us, all off of the face of the planet.
No, and generally, it's an essay called "Science and Oppression." That is something that people need to look up. It's an essay by Jacob H. Carruthers that's called "Science and Oppression." It really narrows down that they built science in itself, what they're calling science, which is nothing but a tool to oppress and to take from. They generally want to strip something from or take it from its nature, not to see, like to put a rat in its natural habitat and see how well it survives. That never is the case. They like to take the rat, take it out of this environment. So it's always taken from a substance, always seeing what they can manipulate, how they can make this thing work for itself. So science in itself is an oppressive, it is for the sake of taking and oppressing and taking from. That's what they're scientists do. So always look at when they're offering something in the name of science, it's usually to hurt.
Absolutely. All right, Sister Shabazz.
Yes, ma'am.
We have somebody else on the line?
Yes, ma'am. We have my brother back to make another comment. You're back live on War on the Horizon.
Yes, peace. I was just listening, and I heard the sister say that, talking about the 12-step program and how people get addicted to it, and I think that's definitely right and exact. Because a lot of times people get addicted to the sub-pleasure. For example, the crack gave them pleasure. They let that go and found another pleasure, which is playing the role as a victim and the attention that they get. And a lot of times that's what happens. That's why people know that being depressed makes them feel bad, but they also like the attention that they get from their friends, talking on the phone, being a victim, everybody coddling them, bringing them gifts, trying to buy them something, trying to make them feel better. So it all goes back again to going back to that root cause. I mean, we got to constantly look in the mirror and analyze self. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just wanted to add that on to the cipher since, there wasn't any cause. I don't mean to hog the line or nothing like that. But, there's like little sub-dimensions, so, and we definitely got to get away from that victim mentality, which I feel we definitely been through a lot. I know what this beast has done. I studied him very well and continue to study him, and I'm a victim of chemical warfare, biological warfare, all that. But we have to regain our strength, our confidence, and be warriors that we are, and stop being victims and say, take it to his face. So I just want to add that on to the cipher.
That's beautiful, brother.
You're definitely not hogging the line. You're just saying what you're supposed to say. It's your
I
show.
appreciate that.
All right. Is that it, Sister Shabazz?
That's all of our callers. Yes, ma'am.
For now, right?
Right.
That's good. That's what we were hoping for people to call in and to participate and speak your mind. You know, I'm really glad that people really had things to say to teach, not just us, but everybody else listening also, because I don't know of how many forums you may get or we may get to discuss addictions, things that we can make and hoard to ourselves to be so personal and so just us and nobody understands or nobody's thinking about it. So I really do appreciate all the callers tonight, everybody who was so honest and expressing what they're through. I also have dealt with my own addictions and still battle, to be honest. White sugar is a demon straight from hell, and straight from the Caucasus Mountains, and it's a battle every day. But it's good to know, you know, when you're not alone fighting, that you have other warriors with you. Dr. Anything you wanted to add in our last few minutes?
You like Peter Paul. You said it all.
All right. Well, like I said, I hope everybody, one, like the brother just said, take a good look at yourself. And I love what Dr. Marcus said. The only way that you can see other people is to look through you to see them. So if it's something, let's say you don't think you're so good at analyzing yourself yet, see what you can clearly see in other people, and it will give you a hint as to what's going on with you. And then just turn that back around, look in that mirror at yourself, and see what's going on with you. Start with, go as far back as you can. Tell them why you mad, son. You know what I'm saying? See what made you mad. See where your anger and your rage could be coming from. The things you've been through, things that were possibly done to you, the people that you love, even though they did something to you. There's going to be something attached to that's not healthy if you're still loving something that has abused you, someone who has abused you. So I would just encourage everybody, take a deep, long look at yourself, get you a journal, get a piece of paper if you too macho to call something a journal or whatever the case may be, but see what's going on inside you, and it will start to dig into or down to your root and see what's going on with your particular addiction. Or if you don't think you have an addiction, maybe, write out a little journal and see. You may surprise yourself with what you may find that you use as a crutch or something to make you feel good. Just bring you pleasure because you're trying to escape from something. So I would definitely encourage, like I said, everyone to do that. And to listen in next week, next Sunday, 7 to 9 Eastern Time, 6 to 8 Central Time, so we can get into some more about addictions. If you have more questions, comments, something else that comes up, we'll get to you again. And to get to speak with the gentleman that I mentioned, hopefully, who could have some possible herbal solutions for us for some of our addictions and just some insight and some wisdom from his particular journey. So if nobody else has anything that they want to add.
Actually, yes? Let me add one little thing before we get off the air.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no problem. Tomorrow, the Irritated Genie is going to have a special program called Sound Off with the Irritated Genie. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, critiques about War on the Horizon, the radio station, our policies, the work that we do, or if you just want to call in and say good job, definitely call in tomorrow from 7 to 9 with the Irritated Genie.
All right. I had said that I was going to remember that, and I said I was going to make a note to remember that, and I made the note and everything, but that got so good I just forgot. So thanks for having my back on that, Sister Shabazz.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's installation, this week's episode of A Taste of the Southwest. I'm Sister Yaa Yaa, and I hope to hear from you guys next week on Sunday evening.
Bye.
Yeah. We out in front. We the vanguard, man. Hakoon, what up? Hey, black. Yeah. I ain't ready, yo. Hey, yo, ho. You got my back?
Yeah, brother, man, your back is cocked.
Pass the Glock.
Let it pop.
Leave a crack. Shot. United front.
Yeah, these other groups ain't half as hot.
And I be reppin' black power till the cats get dropped.
The devil shaking like an aftershock.
And I've been working on my aim.
Running after cops.
All black.
Check.
We all black.
Check.
Crack the fall flat.
Yep.
And small hats.
Yep.
You the master of deception.
I'm the master of expression.
With the power and the message.
With a flow so impressive.
And my number one suggestion.
Study supreme lesson.
No shop.
You know, child.
Brothers, we mean business.
White world massacre.
To save Mama Africa.
Check your neck, people.
But this white man is Dracula.
Beauty for holy day.
Rap heathens with no delay.
Blasphemous to hope and pray.
So the K and the thrown away.
M-A-Y-S-A. Yes, wanna kill us all.
We can brawl.
Let the lead spray. Blood on the wall like lead paint. Bang, bang. Now watch them fall like dead weight.
Yeah, then it's on to the next state.
Lay low.
Yeah, the guards made an escape. Righteous rage.